Again, Blaze, thank you for a great introduction. You're already making us laugh. We haven't even begun. I love the hat. You don't need to take it off. Look, it looks great on you.
Well, thanks, man. It's my Santa hat. I've had that for a few years, and you know what? Sometimes I need to cheer myself up a little bit. I'll go into my Christmas drawer, and I know it's not even December, but I'll go into that Christmas drawer. I'll pull out that Santa hat. I'll put it on, and I'll go, yo ho ho. And I get a boost from that, you know. I get a lift. I get a boost from that.
You like? It seems like you're into the Christmas spirit early on. Are you a Christmas guy? Are you a big fan of Christmas?
It's all related to the horrible crap that we've been going through. Last year, everybody got the Christmas decorations up early because, you know, we all had to stop in with the lockdown and everything. And I think everybody, and I'm not particularly Christmassy normally, we all got Christmas decorations and everything just to be a bit more cheerful. And I think it's the same this year. I feel like, you know what? One thing the government can't do is they can't stop us putting our Christmas decorations up early and being a bit more cheerful. So that's what I've done, man. It's a horrible time for humanity, and it's been a big influence on my album. We got back from South America, and there was no COVID, no sign of it. I'd had some messages from my sister saying, look, something's happening and you better be careful when you're coming back. I'm going, what? And then we're in Paris, Charles de Gaulle Airport. There's people, everybody's got masks on. There's all posters, COVID, this, that, and the other. And in March, we did probably one of the last live performances in Europe. Shows are being cancelled and everything. Burfest, and it's sold out show, about 700 people, I think, an absolutely incredible atmosphere. But that was the last live show. Then all my other shows got postponed or cancelled, or my touring went. But we were always going to record. We were scheduled to record and do some shows around the recording, the writing and recording and mixing of the album. So as those shows got knocked out, it gave us a little bit more time to work on the songs and work on the album. And Chris Appleton and myself, we always talk about, well, what kind of album would we like to have at the end? What kind of shape do we think it would be? To start thinking in the right direction and, you know, just talk through the project. We always treat it as a whole album, different songs, but it's a complete thing, even if the songs are unrelated. And I said to Chris, you know what? It's got to be a positive record, because I've been down, I've been out, I've been broke, all sorts of problems, and my fans were there for me.
It's a great album, A War Within Me. We've been giving it a few listens. You know, it released earlier this year, 2021, to great acclaim, as you mentioned. I think it's definitely one of your best ones. We started this Metal Talk podcast talking about just being away from the road. And now we see that your touring schedule is quite hefty and strong. I mean, we see that you got gigs all over Europe. You're going to England, the Netherlands, Germany, Hungary, France. I saw some Spain dates there. It definitely, Bayley is one of those sought after acts that you want to see all over the place. So it's great to see you back on the road. What other areas are you hitting? Any plans for maybe a North American tour?
Well, I faked it as long as I could, but the manager,
I think you definitely made it at this point, Blaze.
Yeah. The manager said, "Look, you've got to go on tour," and he said, "But he said we're going to start in the UK, and you can use your motorcycle to go to each show, because we're splitting up the band so that we've got less chance. If we're all together, there's a chance one test positive, everybody gets it.
Right.
But if we're separate, that's less chance. If somebody did test positive, we're very lucky nobody did on those headline shows. And I tested positive and I had to miss 2 festival shows, which is absolutely tragic, fantastic gigs that I couldn't do. But the rest of it, the way they booked it was, right, we'll travel as separately as we can. And also, we're going to book the weekends. So if anybody does test positive, we only lose a weekend. We don't lose a whole tour. And it's worked really, really well. And what my team have done, because we work with smaller venues, independent, local promoters and owner promoters, then we've been able to book in advance on the understanding, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, then we'll just postpone it and we'll do this. And we're lucky that we've been able to do that. I'm really not interested in being big. I just want to play the venues I like. And what was happening before was some of them we'd sell out and we could play 2 nights.
Right.
So we had 6 venues. No, we had 3 venues on the last tour, and we played 2 nights because we sold them out. Absolutely fantastic fun. Wow. Really, really good. And now we don't know, you know, there's a lot of unknowns with COVID and Brexit and all of this, but small steps, little chunks, right? Can we do that? Worst case, a lot of things go wrong. We probably can still do that.
Right.
So that's the way that we're doing it. It's a challenge, but I'm hoping that I'll get to see a lot of my fans over the next 2 years. Everything's been pushed back, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. So it's going to take 2 years to get to all the places that I want to go to, but also I really want people to be safe. So I don't want people coming to my shows and then it's like, oh, well, we all tested positive after that. And I want fans to be safe. So, and that's how we're doing it. I'm very, very lucky that people are interested in it. An unusual thing that I didn't expect was with the new Iron Maiden album, fans have been looking at my era of Iron Maiden, and people have been saying, well, hang on, this reminds me a little bit of the X Factor. And people are going back and listening to the X Factor again 25 years ago, this album, and saying, actually, now I'm getting it, whereas I didn't get it before. Some people loved X Factor when it came out. It just suited them. They loved it. And other people just didn't like it or couldn't get used to it. It sounds very different. My era of Iron Maiden, when I started, it's a different voice. It's the beginning of the progressive era, and it's incredible that people are talking about Blaze Bayley now, and my albums with Maiden, and of course people are talking about my new album. Well, if you've heard the X Factor, then have you heard War Within Me? And a lot of people are doing that, and as well as my hardcore fans that have followed me for years and years. So I'm very lucky. It's something I didn't expect, but it's a really nice thing to happen. I've been out the band so long, out of Iron Maiden, and that people still think about me and talk about me is absolutely crazy.
Let me ask you something. I mean, we spoke about the difficulties that we're all been undergoing through COVID, difficulties of touring. But what are currently, because obviously this album was released earlier in the year, throughout all of this, and while are you touring, are you currently writing new material? Where do you find this inspiration to do so?
What's happened is we found a little gap, and the guys from Wolfsbane got in touch. Everybody had some ideas. We've made a new Wolfsbane album, and that will be out next June, we hope, on all the digital platforms, and we hope to have CDs and vinyl after that. And it's an album of music. We were able to get the four of us in the room. We're all vaccinated and everything, and we're able to get in the room, write together. When the four guys from Wolfsbane get together, there's a kind of magic that happens for us that doesn't, we can't send tapes around. There's something about, oh, this goes in, and then magic happens. And the album, we've just got the rough mixes from Jace Edwards, who is an incredible producer in his own right, as well as being an innovative, crazy guitarist.
Wow.
Then he's sent like the rough mixes out. Okay, we need to check this, guys. Is there anything on there? And man, it sounds more Wolfsbane than Wolfsbane. It's crazy. It's crazy because we're going, just madness. It's absolutely brilliant. And I was going through a low. I was in a real funk at the time, and Jace Edwards sent the rough mix through, said, gotta listen to this because we need to get these bits. So I'm going, all right then. And I put it on, and you can't be depressed or miserable when you're listening to the new Wolfsbane music. It was impossible. I was like, wow, man, I felt so good afterwards. And I hope that is the effect that it will have on Wolfsbane fans and my fans if they're interested in the Wolfsbane album. I hope they're going to feel good. You know, in Wolfsbane, we have our own way of doing things and our own values, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we're deadly serious about our music. And that's the way that we've always been. Even if it's fun and we're trying to raise a smile or a giggle, we're absolutely serious about that music and what we do and how we put it together. And so it's feeling really, really good. I'm so glad that we had time to do it. Jeff Haitley has written some wonderful lyrics, wonderful music. We collaborate, work together. The guitar from Jace Edwards, the vibe from Steve Danger on the drums, the grooves. It's just, it's gone really, really well. And we're all very, very excited about next June when the album comes out. And we hope that we'll get to do a couple of tour dates with it as well.
We really hope so. We the fans really hope to see that. Blaze, got to ask you something. You obviously released War Within Me this year. We're looking forward to Wolfsbane new album next year. And we know that you've had a couple of reunions here and there with the guys from Wolfsbane, but let me ask you something. Is this somewhat of the Blaze Bayley renaissance? Are you seeing a resurging element in your career, that everything's somewhat coming together with the great album that you just did this year and what's coming ahead with Wolfsbane?
Well, I think I'm unfashionable, and in the scheme of things, globally, in popular music, I'm unpopular. So fashion tends to go in a circle. So I just keep doing the same thing, and eventually fashion will come back round to meet me and I'll be popular. And I just kept playing my style of heavy metal, doing my music, working on my thing and doing my Wolfsbane thing, and eventually it just comes round. It's a pure accident. You know,
I don't think I've heard it put so, first of all, so comically, but yet so intelligently, because that's very accurate what you just said. That's great. That's great, man.
If people become interested in Maiden and fans start looking at Maiden, which they do every time there's a new album, and the new Maiden album is really, really cool, then there's just a tiny amount, a 0.01% of people that will then listen to the catalogue and listen to the X Factor, and they'll go, Bruce sounds really different on this album. And then they'll find out that it's not Bruce, it's me. And there's a little rabbit hole that fans go down, and they come up in Bayley world, you know, with my 12 or so studio albums and my live albums and my Wolfsbane and all of that. And it's wow. So it's, I never expected it. When Maiden did the Legacy tour, and there's a song from, you know, the big songs from X Factor and Virtual 11, then there's a little bit of interest comes my way, and people, is Bayley still alive, which is a common reaction. And then with the new Maiden album, people go and say, people have been saying, this really reminds me of the X Factor, which that was the beginning of the progressive era of Maiden. The style of vocal on the X Factor and Virtual 11, radically different to what came before, especially the last two albums with Bruce, Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying. My vocal style's a million miles away from that, really. I mean, Bruce is fantastic, awesome vocalist, and one of the most important singers in the history of music, not just of heavy metal or rock. And as the legends come in the future, I feel that Bruce Dickinson will be one of the people that is referenced as one of the greatest voices in popular music, because what he's done and the songs he's sung, the things he's done are absolutely incredible. The quality of the performances that is recorded and done live are absolutely incredible.
Nonetheless,
and I get a little thing. It's wonderful, because for me, I loved being in Iron Maiden. I was an Iron Maiden fan, and I knew that if anything ever happened, I'd always be considered an ex-member of Iron Maiden. And I was happy with that, because why wouldn't I be? I was a huge fan before. For me, it's one of the most important bands in music, not just heavy metal, but in music, the things that they've done. So for me, when people say, oh, it's him ex-Iron Maiden, I go, yeah, it is. It is. There I was, playing 10,000 people a night, stadiums all over the world, great big gigs, top 10 song, Man on the Edge, top 10 all over the world. And the confidence that I got from working closely with Steve Harris, his mentorship to me with my songwriting, that's a good idea, Blaze, but if you just put it like this, it's going to go there, then you're going to be able to get here with it. Right. And to get the idea from here into the rehearsal room and then onto a recording, that's what I learned in Iron Maiden. And with War Within Me, you can listen to this album, and when you maybe third or fourth listen, bloody hell, that must be an Iron Maiden influence, where I've got my harmony guitars, the big melody guitars going on, and some of the vocals. It's a direct influence from that time that I spent in Iron Maiden. And as a producer and songwriter, Steve Harris found this extra part of my voice. So after Iron Maiden, well, during I started to find this, we found it together. He knew it was there, and he got these performances out of me, and my voice is a third bigger. I have about a third more range than before Iron Maiden.
Wow.
Sounds that I never recorded. And after, as I did my own album, Silica Messiah, 10th Dimension, and Blood and Belief, these sounds were things that I was able to use. And on the War Within Me album, I've been able to go, right, I want this particular texture to go with this lyric, doing this melody with this chord behind it. And Chris Appleton and myself have worked in precise details to get what we wanted, to take you as the listener on a journey. And we want you to walk down this path. Mm-hmm. And we're mixing, not just writing, but mixing the album in that way. Right, this is a bit louder here, so we want that to come to the front. We want this here, we want that there. In the mixing and in the writing stage, because we know we're producing the album and we're going to mix it, you've got this extra little tool in your songwriter's kit, which goes, when we mix it, we'll put that a little bit up. When we mix it, we'll put that just slightly to left of center. When we mix it, this will be hard right. When we mix it, we'll put a slight delay on that and it'll bounce over. And you're thinking of all this as you're coming up with it. And then we get the finished thing and it feels good.
It feels damn good.
Hard work, all of that focus on tiny, tiny details. You know, all the times where I'm an absolute arsehole to Chris Appleton and he just suffers. But you know, he gets me and goes, well, you've got to come up with a better lyric for that. We just can't have it. It's just not of a standard. I'm going, what? That's a good lyric. Well, I don't think it's your best. And I'm going, you can't play it like that. It's got to be like this. So, man, it's...
Right, they're driving you crazy with that.
There we are, and it's come out, and it's up. I'm so lucky, you know, and so grateful to be working with such talented people who have a work ethic. We don't stop till it's finished.
As the way it should be, Blaze. And you know what? I wanted to hone in a little bit more and talk to you more about what you said about Iron Maiden. I think that I've read in a lot of message boards, and that's a whole lot of message boards, YouTube comments, and all that, where they say that really you are very underrated for what you meant for Iron Maiden, because let's be honest, you carried them through a process in which we didn't know if the band was going to survive. Obviously, there was this Bruce dependency, apparently, and you really came in and changed that. You mentioned Man on the Edge earlier. I'd bring
it's much worse than that, right? Forget about the situation with Bruce. He needed to do what he needed to do to get himself together. He needed that break. We were facing grunge. In the UK, the British press was saying Iron Maiden is a dinosaur. They won't last another album. That's it. Without Dickinson, it's over. And they got the knives out and they were stabbing Maiden in the back the best they could. And it was horrible. They were writing the X Factor album off before we'd written anything. And there was no music written. Steve Harris said to me, I don't care who writes the music, who comes up with the songs. It just has to be great.
Right.
And we worked and we came up with an album, I think, of great music. The critics were out. The year I joined Iron Maiden, EMI sold every factory that they had that produced vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. They were getting out of the manufacturing business, which had been the mainstay of the music business. Bits of plastic that you walked into a record shop and bought, be it vinyl or cassette or CD. All those bits of plastic, suddenly sales were plummeting. EMI got out. They thought everything was going to be digital. Now we know that they were doing deals with Apple and all of that. So everything was going down. Everything was against us. The shape of the music business was changing when we did the X Factor, and they said that Nirvana were going to be the new Judas Priest or new Iron Maiden. They were, it was bizarre, but that's
Right.
what we were facing. We played in Seattle at the height of grunge, and the audience was split visibly from real metal fans, which was about the first 5 or 10 rows. Maiden is my band. I'm here to see Maiden. That's it. I've come to listen to the new songs. To the back where it was, I've come to see the last gig of this dinosaur. I want to say that I saw Iron Maiden's last tour. It was horrible.
Wow.
Absolutely horrible. And that's how it was. And that's what we were facing on the X Factor and Virtual 11. In the UK, the magazines were saying Maiden is dead. We were playing across the world, 10,000 people a night, stadiums with 70,000 people, 50,000, headlining giant festivals, But in the UK, in our home, they're saying Maiden's dead, Maiden's gone. Well, where are they now?
Wow.
It's, grunge has gone. Heavy metal has stayed. Maiden stayed. And, Black Sabbath had a reunion. Deep Purple had a reunion.
Right.
And EMI put pressure on the band. We need a reunion to get interest back in Iron Maiden. And far be it for me to stand in the way. Bruce came back, and that gave me a wonderful opportunity to start my solo career. There must be an Iron Maiden on planet Earth. That's the way I feel. And from touring, it's a weird feeling, but from touring with the band, from having incredible support from Maiden fans as the new singer, I had incredible support from so many fans around the world. Yes, there were people that hated me. They hated me on principle. Most of them never even listened to my records. They just hated the fact that I wasn't Bruce Dickinson, despite my good looks, And they still do hate me. They still do. They still hate me. Oh, I hate the Blazer. I hate the X Factor. But there's just a few of those people that hated me that have gone, oh, just have a listen to the X Factor again, because the new Maiden's come out and you kind of go back and listen and, I didn't really. And people are going, well, actually, now without all of the emotion, then it's a blooming good album. There's a lot of great music on X Factor and Virtual 11, and you can see how the band was changing and evolving and moving forward. So it's a good time. I don't know, man. It's such a long time ago. People think fondly of me. Some people don't actually know that I'm still going. Some people don't know I'm alive from that era. But here I am, a professional heavy metal singer with a few thousand loyal fans around the world that support me and make it possible for me to live my dream. I write the music I want. I'm an artist now more than I ever was, creating things, moods and feelings, and guiding my listeners to places where I want them to feel positive, to come through the darkness and see the dawn. And I'm very, very lucky to be able to do that. So, War Within Me album, it's a very important album for me, but it also shows the journey that I've had from Wolfsbane, starting off in Tamworth as a bunch of guys. We just weren't good enough to play covers, so we wrote original material so nobody would know we were playing it wrong. And coming from then, I'm not a talented natural singer. I learned to sing because I wanted to be a singer and I love to sing. So coming all of that way, then getting the top job in the world in my profession, the lead singer of the most important heavy metal band in the world, in my opinion, and then being able to make my own albums, do my own thing, be independent, and have support of incredible fans. It's an incredible journey.
And a blessing, too, for all that you've done, Blaze. A great blessing for everything you've done.
With the War Within Me album, and it just reflects that journey, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a fantastic album. I think you've again, I can't say that enough. I think you're extremely underrated for what you did for the band and how you carried them. I had not thought about this grunge factor, and I think that's so important. You know, the industry changed dramatically, so keeping it alive was very important for the band, and that's just crucial. I mean, if you're an Iron Maiden fan, you should be thankful that Bayley carried on the torch for that portion of their career. Let me ask you something that we read online that I found very interesting. We read somewhere that before joining Iron Maiden, you had a serious motorcycle accident. Is that true?
Yeah, and that's on the War Within Me album. I've used that. I've revealed my pain and how I got through that. And the song is here on side 1, track 4. It's called Pull Yourself Up. Simple title. And I had a motorcycle accident and I was all patched up, and I went to start the physio, and he said, you got to face something. You're probably going to have a limp for the rest of your life. You won't walk the way you did before. And I looked at him and I thought to myself, you don't know me. Man, it took me more, I think it was about 4 years to get the movement back in my leg, to get the strength back in my leg. One leg was this size, the other leg was this size. And I had to build it back up. Oh man, but I managed to do it. In the same way, I had reviews back in those Wolfsbane days which said, Blaze, you can't sing. But for a young man, ambitious, your life is your music, that's crushing. And there were certain people around that would just laugh. I said, I'm going to be a singer in a band. And they would just laugh at me, laugh at the idea that I thought I could sing in a band. And there were other people who said, well, good luck. I wish you the best with it. And my mom, I mean, just, she's not with us anymore, but so supportive. My dad, so supportive of me. And I mean, just a kid can't sing. I thought I sounded like Ronnie James Dio. I sounded like a donkey being pulled to pieces at an abattoir. That's the level of vocals that I had when I joined Wolfsbane. And, you know that the only reason I got the gig in Wolfsbane is that no one else applied, and I was all out. And it was for Jeff Haitley and Jace Edwards. Well, we've got a choice. If we want to get a band together, we've got this idiot that sounds like a donkey being murdered, or nothing. Okay, we'll take the idiot that sounds like the donkey, and that's it. And we just stuck together. And then years later, here I am. And I've got an album and a song called Pull Yourself Up. And it says, they said I could not walk. Come and walk with me. They said I could not sing. Come and sing with me. So it's a matter of immense pride, but also I wanted to share my emotion and what had happened to me. I know it sounds very pretentious. I know that. But I wanted to go, look, this is what happened to me. I was lucky. I had support. I managed to get through it. So if I got through this adversity and people telling me I would never be a singer. I remember one person saying, why don't you face it? You're never going to make it as a singer. That's what they said to me. What?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what when I was starting off. So I got through that, not on my own, man. I had a lot of support. I don't pretend that I've done all this on my own. I've had fantastic support and a huge amount of luck. But I wanted to share that with my fans so that when they listen to my song, Pull Yourself Up, what they're actually listening to is the truth about my life and how I faced adversity and the things I did to get through it. I'm not saying they should do the same thing at all, but at least they will know that other people have faced adversity and they've got through it. Other people have had their dreams ridiculed and they've managed to get through it. So for me, it's become an important album. The title song, War Within Me, I've never made a secret that I have mental health problems. I suffer from depression. I get into the worst funk imaginable, and it'll just stop me doing anything. I've never hidden that because I'm so lucky that in my job, the people that I work for don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to them that I'm a nutcase. My fans go, well, I know he's a nutcase. So what difference does it make? Where in the wider world, before COVID, before people were talking openly on TV, on the news about mental health issues and the importance of mental health, before that, there's a lot of shame and stigma around mental health. Oh, you got a mental health problem? Oh, let's stay away. You must be a crazy nutcase or an axe murderer. Not, oh, you're someone with a problem that perhaps we can help with and we could work this out. I've never hidden that. And many fans have said to me, you know, to me, you're an important artist. And to know that you've had this battle too really gives me courage. Man, that is so humbling for me when my fans tell me that I could be the tiniest bit of help, that my work could be the smallest help to people who are struggling is incredible. When somebody says to me, Blaze Bayley is my workout music, that's what I take to the gym, I'm so proud. Yeah. So proud. You know, when people say, I went through a hard time and this was the album that I started listening to, that's just coincidence. It's happened to me. You're going through tragedy or grief or difficulties or misery, and then the album that you're listening to at the time, whether it be Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Sabaton, or Disturbed, whatever it is, will take on an extra significance.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, for me, that it's my music. There's something magical about that for me.
Mhm.
And it gives me that extra inspiration to push harder and push myself harder, and to not leave things, well, it's good enough. No, there's no good enough. It's finished and it's the best it can be, or it's not going on the album. And that's the way that we've been on the last 4 albums that we've done. And I think on the War Within Me album, you can see that more.
Definitely an inspiring story that you're sharing with us. For all of those that didn't know, I mean, about the serious accident that you had, how you overcame that, and how now you're even writing about it. It's very inspiring. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Blaze, please let us know, where can we find you online? Facebook, Instagram, your YouTube. Where can we sign up to hear more about the Blaze Bayley world?
It's blazebayley.net is my website. Please sign up for my newsletter. We promise not to bomb you with email, but when something significant happens, we have a release, we have tour dates, we'll send you an email to tell you what's happening. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. It's official Blaze Bayley. You can go to blazebayleyshop.com to find out where to get bits and pieces. And of course, I'm on all of the digital formats.
Gotcha.
I'm on Apple and Spotify and everything else if you prefer to get your music that way. So it's incredible for me that anybody's actually interested in my music. I just feel so lucky and so humbled when people, my fans come out. We were in Newcastle the other night, and every era of Blaze Bayley was represented. Guys with T-shirts, you could hardly see the print, man. They were so old. T-shirts that were 25 years old. Yeah. And they're still fit. All credit to the guys. You know, they still fitted. And there's T-shirts going back 20. I'm going, that is never an original Silicon Messiah T-shirt. It is. Blimey now. And then you've got people with the newest T-shirt that came with the new album. And, you know, it's incredible. People have supported me and made it possible for me to live my dream of being a professional heavy metal singer. And the thing that I never expected, because I have this opportunity as an artist, I've been able to express myself, push the barriers, use my creativity in a very positive way. And it's been an incredible experience for me. And I think the number one thing is, from the beginning, when we were in that van in Wolfsbane, going and playing different towns in the UK, selling our own demo tapes and T-shirts, I trusted the fans then. And if you liked us, if we were good, if there was something about us, you come and see us again. If there wasn't, you wouldn't. And we were the biggest unsigned metal band in the UK. with no record deal, just traveling around in a van, selling our tapes and T-shirts, playing to 300 people and more a night all around the UK. And that purity before the machine and the slave system of what was the music business then, that gave me a faith and a confidence. And years later, I'm back there. My fans buy my CD, money goes to me. That goes on making the next album, covering all my expenses, keeping my band together, and doing the next thing. There's no record company involved. There's no big infrastructure. I'm not paying for a load of people and, bills for a massive glass building. I don't care about all of that, because what's important is not how you appear. It's the music that you do.
That's right.
It's the passion that you put in. It doesn't matter how you arrive at the gig. And that's what people used to think. Oh, it's important that you turn up in a limo for the gig or what? Absolute bull, right? What's important is when you're on that stage that you take these songs, these lyrics and this music, and you bring it to life for your audience. And no real fan cares how their favorite artist gets to the show. That was, somebody else thought that, it's absolutely tragic. Oh, well, you need to be a little bit aloof and distant. I'm like, why? Why? I'm a fan, and they're fans of me, but I'm fans of music and all of that. I hated that side of things. And pre-COVID, every headline Blaze Bayley show had a free meet and greet, and some of those took longer than the gig.
Wow.
400 people, 350 people. Sometimes I had to set up doors open in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The doors open and I'm sat there, man, with my pen ready, and I've got fans there to help me take the photos. Every single person that walks through that door, every Blaze Bayley fan can come, get their stuff signed, and have a photo.
That's incredible.
It's free because it's thank you. 350 people, sold out show, amazing. And just to be able to say thank you to the people that support me. I've played more towns and cities in Brazil than any other international artist. That's just a fact. People have played more gigs in Brazil. No one has been to more places in Brazil than Blaze Bayley.
Wow.
Maybe some Brazilian artists I've done more places than. And when my fans turn up, to be able to say thank you and sign and have a photo, it's the least I can do, man. After the support.
It's the nature of metal, isn't it, Blaze? It's the nature of metal to be.
For me and you, it's not for everybody.
That's true.
For me and you, that's it. I'm not just a fan, I'm interested in the artist. And that's it. We listen to our favorite artists so much, we become connected. That's just a fact. There's no change in that. We're connected in a way that other genres of music, I just don't think can be as strong, have such a strong connection as we have in rock and metal.
And that is why, having shows like these, like the Metal Talk podcast, I think is fantastic, because we get to know you a little bit better. We get to know the real Blaze Bayley a little bit better. And Blaze, I want to thank you for the great time, the great conversation. We're going to leave links to all of your channels and every single place that you can listen to Blaze Bayley's music down here in the description of the video. Want to thank you for a great time. Thanks for chatting us here at the Metal Talk podcast.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. Thanks for having me back. And I wish everybody the best possible health. And from my heart, thank you to all of my fans. Thanks to everyone that has believed in me and supported me and made it possible for me to do the War Within Me album that I'm so proud of. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Blaze. Listen to A War Within Me out now on all the digital platforms. Listen to it and rock on.